Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Wheeler and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons 5e because I always talk about Dungeons and Dragons 5e. When do I don't talk about Dungeons and Dragons 5e? When they start producing Dungeons and Dragons 3.5, again, I doubtful, or 5.5 or 6, who knows, that could happen. So what are the 5 worst cantrips for Dungeons and Dragons 5e? I would like to point out when I start talking about this sort of thing, this is my opinion. This, in my opinion, are the 5 worst Dungeons and Dragons 5e cantrips, and it's because there are better options available as far as I'm concerned. It's not because they don't do anything, it is simply because in the game that you're currently playing, there are options that you could use that don't chew up those valuable cantrip options. You don't get a lot of cantrips, you have to be selective, and of course they're not very powerful, so you have to be very careful about what you pick up. So starting off with number 1 for me, in no particular order, so don't get caught up in the order that I talk about them in, is number 1 is Spare the Dying. It stabilizes a dying creature as an action. Now when you look at it on paper, it seems like a really good idea. Here's the problem for me. When I was play testing this particular rule in the alpha play test, the Spare the Dying rules actually stipulated that you gained 1 hit point if you used this spell. It was a good cantrip. In fact, it was probably too good, which is why they probably moved to it stabilizes the creature. What they didn't do is tell us what other sorts of stuff they were going to add to the game as a result of that. The other thing you've got to understand with Spare the Dying is, do you realize that an unconscious ally can't help you in a fight? They are still lying on the ground. Why did you not cast a spell that would heal them and give them at least 1 hit point? Use your Paladin Lay on Hands, give them a potion of healing, probably because you didn't have one available. That's usually what's going on here. But here's the problem with Dungeons and Dragons 5e, is they decided to add something to the game that I didn't know about during the alpha play test, and they put it into 5e, and it's been around for a long time, and it can be easily overlooked, and that is the Healer's Kit. Just get yourself a Healer's Kit, which does the same thing, and anybody can use it, and you don't have to use up that valuable cantrip slot. You needed that cantrip for something else, really. Okay, automatic stabilization when you do a medicine check. And it's an action just like Spare the Dying. So I don't see why anybody ever bothers with Spare the Dying. Frankly, I think it's kind of pointless. Okay, number 2 is Light. Yes, I know a few people are going to freak out at me and harass me, but seriously, Light creates bright light in a 20-foot radius for 1 hour. Seems useful, and there are lots of creative ways you could use light, but there's actually another spell in your repertoire that's better. Dancing Lights, which is not as long and as concentration, has more options as far as I'm concerned than light. When is light actually useful? Well, the cantrip Light is useful for deep sea diving and pitch darkness, where you can't see anything and you really can't take anything that produces light a different way other than a spell. And maybe useful for a handful of races without dark vision. Yeah, I guess I'll give you that, but if you have a look in the player's handbook, there is some equipment that you can purchase that really does exactly the same thing. Just go and buy yourself a torch, a candle, or a lantern, which is available to anybody. You do not need to cast a spell or a cantrip to do this. Very, very simple. They are cheap as chips. And if you're really worried about being able to cover up the light, well, guess what? You can get a hooded lantern. Get a lantern and you put a cover over it. No different to using a scroll case or a map case and putting light on the inside of the case and then covering it up with the lid to block off the light when you need to. Just go and buy a torch, candle, or a lantern. That is my advice to you. Number 3, oh boy, and I'm sure a few people have already guessed it was going to be here. True Strike gives you advantage on the first attack on the next turn by spending your action, and essentially you are concentrating because you are holding that spell. It doesn't actually state that necessarily in the spell itself, but essentially you are holding your breath. Nothing could ever go wrong by holding your breath, could it? Here's my problem with True Strike. There are so many ways you can gain advantage on attack rolls, and you still haven't remembered to use your inspiration points that your Dungeon Master has given you. So go and use your inspiration points first before you worry about going and using this particular spell. I did a whole video. There's like 50 different ways you can gain advantage on an attack roll without using True Strike. This is essentially you holding your breath, waiting to deliver some hopefully accurate blow, and while you're holding your breath, somebody can potentially wind up punching you in the face or the gut, and you wind up losing the spell. And of course, you've just wasted your time. And essentially, there is a better way, as I've said. Just make an attack with your action and do more damage in the long term. There is no point in having advantage by not being able to attack during your turn. Okay, so don't do that. You're better off to make 2 attacks, okay, over 2 rounds rather than making 1 attack over 2 rounds. It makes no numerical sense whatsoever. Okay, number 4, Blade Ward. Oh gosh. Blade Ward offers resistance to weapon attacks for 1 round by using your action. Sounds really good when you look at it. You think, okay, yes. That means that all the incoming attacks that are bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, they're all going to be reduced by half. Sounds good to me. It's not affected by magic weapons or anything like that. But here's the problem. Blade Ward is available to a spellcaster. Does anybody remember what a spellcaster's purpose in life is? I do. And that is, they're supposed to stay out of harm's way. Okay. Life must be pretty rough for you as a soft, squishy, full spellcaster that you have actually decided to become a damage sponge where you will actually get hit. The idea with a spellcaster is don't get hit. And if you are using a cantrip of all things to actually protect yourself, either you're playing at very low level and things have gone horribly wrong, or you're playing at high level and things have gone horribly wrong. Either that or you just don't understand what the heck you're doing when you're playing the game. So I would not consider Blade Ward a good option. There are very, very specific circumstances where Blade Ward would be useful, and it's usually not the situations that you will ever come across in combat. I know that sounds strange, but it's true. Just take the dodge action. It's an action. It takes up your action just like Blade Ward. You're going to wind up with all the attacks having disadvantage on you. Better off to not get hit than wind up taking reduced damage. Or, better yet, stand behind some total cover or stand in cover to make your armor class go up. Or, if you have access to mage armor, make sure to cast mage armor at the beginning of the day since it lasts 8 hours. Or, what do you know, shield, cast shield. There are many other ways of dealing with this, and you don't even need to have spell slots available or use a cantrip to deal with it. You can just do stuff that anybody can do. Anybody can dodge, and anybody can stand in cover or behind cover. It's a terrible cantrip. Number 5, and the last one on my list, which makes me chuckle from time to time, and that is Friends. Friends grants you advantage on charisma checks with 1 creature not already hostile to you. So they're not hostile with you. They must either be sort of indifferent or friendly already, and by casting this spell, you get advantage. And this will guarantee that they will be hostile towards you after 1 minute of concentration. If the wording did not spell out this is a bad idea, I'm going to say right now, please don't take this cantrip, okay? It's a really bad idea. It always makes me laugh when players take it, and usually most of them understand what's going on, but they just decided to sort of do it because they want to see what the Dungeon Master will do. But don't give your Dungeon Master an opportunity to chuckle while they enjoy the fun they can have with messing with your character, because they will. It's like sticking your head or your hand into the open jaw of a crocodile. Don't do it. Please, please don't take this cantrip. How can you circumvent the fact that you want to have advantage on a charisma check? And friends seems like the only option. Rubbish. Get a teammate to help you during the negotiation, the deception, the intimidation, or any kind of charisma check that you are trying to perform. Get them part of the conversation so you can gain advantage that way. There is a mechanic in the game called help, and most dungeon masters are using that mechanic. So use that. And then you don't have to worry about there being a guaranteed I am going to have to deal with a hostile creature at the end of the cantrip that I've just cast called Friends. Whereas you could have a much better result by just teaming up together. That is my view. Obviously it is my opinion, but frankly the Wizards of the Coast design team for Dungeons & Dragons 5e need a good, hard, swift spank for creating these dog's balls of cantrips in the game. They're like little mines and traps waiting for poor players to pick up and realize that they have made some horrible mistake that will torture them for who knows how long. Now I'm hoping you found this video helpful and useful, and if you have, fantastic. I actually have a series of videos on different spells. You're welcome to go and check those out. But if you're not interested in spells, I also have a series of videos on just about every aspect of the game for players and dungeon masters that you can go and watch. If you want to support the channel so I keep doing content like this, well, I have a Patreon page where you get access to the written notes that I put out for my videos and other bits and pieces, plus the live streams. I also have a affiliate link to the book depository on Amazon where you can buy stuff online. I get a small commission. There are merchandise shelves underneath my videos where you can buy stuff. Otherwise, just watch my videos. I run ads, so I get paid that way. Now, make sure to share, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell button to be notified when I go live and when I publish new videos. Until next time, please do not take these cantrips. Don't take them. Till next time, keep rolling those 20s.